Today's training video is a long one, but I think you're going to want to take the time to watch it. We're going to show you a disciple-making scenario in the workplace. A Pursue God Network church in Chicago demonstrated how to invite someone to talk. This is Pastor Darren and John Swan, and they got up there on the stage, and they gave us a little role play and then explained it a little bit afterward. So take a look.
So in this particular scenario, Darren and I we've been buddies at work for a while. We do some stuff outside of work too, and he shared with me that he's come to this place in life where he's just feeling dissatisfied, right? So I took the time later on that day. I go to Pursue God. I look for a topic that's going to fit Darren where he's at, right? I send it to him. Say, hey, Darren, check this out. This relates to the conversation we just had earlier in the day, and maybe just sit on it for a little bit. Day goes by. If he doesn't say anything, I pray again, muster up a little courage, go up to Darren, hey, did you get a chance to watch that video? He says, yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I said, great, well, tell you what, would you be open to this? Could we get together over coffee Friday before work and talk about it? So there's the invitation, as easy as that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch an actual PursueGOD.org video. Let's do it.
Today's topic is for everyone out there who is investigating faith. And we're going to talk about the three longings built into every human heart. If you're watching this video and you're saying to yourself, life isn't really giving me what I want. I feel let down. I feel a lack of satisfaction. Maybe the problem is that you're looking for the good life in all the wrong places. See, built into all of our hearts is a longing for love, a longing for purpose, and a longing for answers. Let's start with love. We're all looking for love, and sometimes we'll turn to it from any source. But ultimately, here's what I want you to know. Ultimately, this desire comes from God because we're not meant to do life alone. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Glenn Wolfe. He actually is famous for something that really nobody wants to be famous for. He holds the Guinness World Record for the most marriages. Check it out. He was married 30 times. And the sad thing about his story, well, there's a lot of sad things, but the main sad thing is at his death, none of his wives or kids showed up. Genesis 2:18, it says this, "Then the Lord God said, 'It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him.'" See, this is the account of the creation of human beings. And according to the Bible, God created human beings to be in relationship. It's not good for people to be alone. You were created to be connected to people. So if you're looking for love in all the wrong places, maybe it's time to look for it in the Bible. Maybe it's time to look for it in God himself. And here's the second thing. We all want our lives to matter, and we'll pursue success, money, and more, but true fulfillment comes from God. If you're looking for purpose, I believe you can't find it outside of a pursuit of God. God said this to the Old Testament prophet Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. He said, "I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart." Have you ever considered that that could also be true of you, that God knew you before you were even born, that God had a plan for you even before you had a plan for yourself? I love how the Apostle Paul describes this in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. He says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago." Your life is not accidental. It's not pointless or purposeless. If you want your life to matter, find fulfillment only in God. And here's the third thing. We all need to know why. Why is life hard? Why is there so much evil in the world? People have wondered for centuries about this, and I believe the Bible offers the answers we seek. Back to Genesis, the first chapter in the whole Bible, chapter 1. In verse 31, it says that God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. And my point is that God created everything good. So that means evil and suffering and sickness was not part of God's original plan that entered into the world because of sin in the world. Romans 8 in the New Testament explains this further. It says in verse 20, "Against its will, all creation was subjected to God's curse, But with eager hope, the creation looks forward to the day when it will join God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay. In other words, suffering is the result of broken humanity in a broken world that we live in. Just look around, it's pretty obvious that that's true. But the good news of the Bible is that someday this suffering will end. And in the meantime, we can take comfort in the God who suffers with us. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a guy who understood this all too well. He stood up against the evil Nazi regime and it cost him his life. And here was the heart of his message in those days: only the suffering God can help. And the reason for that is because God himself suffered with us. He suffered for us. So evil and suffering, all of that only makes sense in the context of a biblical worldview. So if you're longing for any of these things, love, purpose, or just answers to life, maybe it's time to look for it in the author of life itself. Maybe it's time to look for it in a pursuit of God.
Morning, Darren. Thanks for meeting me for breakfast.
Pretty early, John. This better be good,
Yeah,
brother. 7 a.m. Huh?
Hey, did you get out of the house all right this morning?
Yeah, I did.
That's weird. You like sped by me going like 80 miles an hour down Eola.
To get here on time. Okay.
Yeah. So, hey, you said you had a chance to review
I did.
the video.
I watched the video last night.
And just curious, what popped out at you? What jumped out at you?
Well, I was interested in the video and then the questions that were there. I found it very thought-provoking. I know you're the church guy. I'm not sold on anything and whatever, but I will tell you it was thought-provoking.
Sure.
He made 3 points about love, and I got to tell you that didn't resonate with me so much. Julie and I were lucky. We've got a really good marriage. I got 2 good kids, and I feel love. That's not the issue. And I think the third point was the why stuff, and I don't know, maybe I'm not deep enough to ask all the why questions, but that wasn't a really big. What really resonated with me was the second one. Does it all matter? And I guess that's kind of where I am at this life. I'm 56 years of old, and I've lived a pretty good life, I guess a good life. And here I am, and I don't know, is this it?
Yeah, I can relate to that. Me looking from the inside out into your life, you've always been the kind of guy that goes after what he wants and usually gets it, and you kind of achieve the American dream. How do you think it is that that's still got you at this place feeling a little numb or a little empty?
I guess part of why I'm sitting here with you at 7 a.m. Because I've kind of looked at life, and I've achieved a lot of stuff. I wanted to go to school. I went to school. Wanted to get married. Got married. Wanted to have a couple of kids. Got a couple of kids. Wanted a house. Got a house. Wanted a nice car. Got a nice car. Wanted a nice house. Got a nice house. I've kind of checked all the stuff.
Sure.
And I'm not making $1 million, but I'm not making, I'm not on welfare either. So if I've kind of done all this stuff and checked off all the boxes, then why am I having lunch or breakfast with you?
Well,
something's not right.
You had mentioned something about looking for meaning last time we talked.
Yeah, I guess that's
was that one of the points that
I guess that's it. Is this it? Is there more to life than the insurance industry? I don't know.
Sure. Well, I can relate to that as well, Darren. I can just thinking about my life going back 4 or 5 years ago. I kind of came to that same place, and I can tell you what really changed for me was when I decided to start looking into things of faith again in my life. And not to get too weird on you here, but what I mean by that specifically is faith through a relationship with Jesus Christ.
I knew you were going to say something.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Well, hey, I've seen you've shared that Julie drags you to church for Easter and Christmas and that kind of thing. And
4 times a year,
What's your faith background like? What was your growing up?
Oh, dude, I grew up Pentecostal. We were hanging from the chandeliers and speaking in tongues and getting slain in the Spirit. I've seen it all, brother, okay?
Yeah, right.
Let me tell you. I know that drill.
Right. Well, you mentioned that you've got some more questions.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I do. I guess that's why I'm here, brother. I got a lot of questions. And I said, you're the church guy. You're supposed to have all the answers, so that's why I'm sitting here with you.
I'll tell you what, I would really like to continue this conversation, but we really need to get back into the office.
Okay.
I do have an idea, though.
All right.
So the same place that I got this video that I sent you a couple days ago. They have many videos on lots of topics that might address some of the bigger questions you have.
Okay.
How about if I send you a link to that site, you pick a video that interests you.
Anything I want.
Anything you want.
Okay.
And then we sit back down here next Friday before work, same time, same place.
No strings attached.
Nah.
I don't got to show up your church.
No.
I don't have to have a relationship with Jesus.
Nope.
All I got to do is look at the video
Not a
and
pyramid
show up.
scheme. Nope.
That's it.
Nope. That's
Okay.
it.
That's the deal. Okay, guys? Those of you in community theater have nothing to fear from John and I taking your spot. Guys, that's real world. Now, that's a little churchy kind of a thing, but see, that resonated with me because that's where I was in my mid-30s. That was me. Is this it? It may be something completely different for you. It may be something completely different with that person that maybe the Lord has put on your heart. There's a couple of things that we just want you to just kind of be chewing on. Discipleship, we believe, as Brian talked about yesterday, is just conversations. It's conversational relationships. Let me let you off the hook. You can't save anybody. Don't you wish we could? I wish, but we can't. It's all Him. And yet God uses us as part of, and I say this carefully, as part of the process. He does it all. But He calls us to be a part of that. He calls us to preach, and that's not just standing up here on Sunday mornings preaching, but to give the good news. So it's all just about conversational.
I would piggyback off that and say, really the scariest thing about using this tool, Pursue God, is that it takes all the excuses away to go do it. Now, we modeled for you today the invite process, because that's probably about, maybe this one of the...
Probably the hardest part.
If you don't invite somebody, it'll never happen, right? And
Yeah.
if you're paying attention, there's really 2 invites I gave, right? And so, again, the tool is just used to invite somebody into a meaningful conversation and invest in their lives, one topic at a time. And if you may have noticed also that I put it back on Darren.
Yeah.
Right? It's not my job to make Darren pursue God, a relationship with God. It's my job to plant.
So the pressure's off you.
Pressure's off me. Pressure's off me. So there are, and again, this scenario, a couple cheesy little actors, and we did a very Cliff Notes version of a conversation. And even the topic wouldn't be one that you might use.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah,
so let's talk about that, John, because you think, well, they're all going to be churchy topics.
Right.
Literally,
No.
Pursue God, listen to me, saints, has thousands of these, plural, thousands of every topic under the sun. And it may be something like this where somebody's actually interested in faith, but John, some of the other topics.
Sure. So they have topics under many different umbrellas, we'll call them. Investigating faith, new believers, topics for women, topics specific to men, topics for athletes, topics
Money, addiction.
around money, addiction recovery,
You name it.
parenting, marriage.
Okay, so
there we go,
parenting.
parenting.
Yeah, talk
right?
about that, because I know you and Valerie have used this.
Right, but we have used it. I will talk about it.
Yeah.
That's the scenario, right? Maybe Darren's not wrestling with the questions of life. Maybe it's just he's having a hard time with his kids, and I share a video around that.
Yeah,
we
that's
can
simple.
Talk about it. But
That's simple.
Real world, real setup here. Valerie and I have 2 middle school daughters, and how many know that it can be a little challenging to have meaningful conversations with middle school daughters, right? So we're using Pursue God as a tool to disciple our daughters. And just to kind of give you an idea of how, the many different topics that Pursue God offers and how they really don't shy away from some of the tougher subject matters. Valerie and I were looking for something to use with the girls, and we do this every Monday. And we came up, so our girls have iPads. They have cell phones.
Smartphones, yeah.
It's not a question of when pornography is going to pop up on a computer screen in front of them someday. Or, pardon me, I said that wrong. If it's a question
of when, yeah.
Correct. So we came across a video, and the title was something like, "How can middle school girls battle porn?" Okay, that's specific.
Real world.
Real world, right? So we have all the locks and stuff on our screens, and that hasn't been an issue yet. But we were able to have a conversation with our girls, something that was less awkward than it may have been, right? With a subject matter that we honestly may have never even broached, because I wasn't equipped to do it. Hadn't really even thought about it so much with girls. So we had a conversation. They watched the video. We watched the video. We got together, had a conversation about it. Now our girls are equipped for really the inevitable. If you think about our culture.
I think part of that, too, John, that I want to make clear, one is that they've done all the work for us.
Right.
Thousands of videos on every topic under the sun. So just like in that scenario, John would text me the video, and then also with that, they give you the major points and all the questions.
Correct.
They give you the major and all the questions. All you got to do is step out in faith and say, Lord, would you just put that person in front of me? They've done all the work.
Right.
So now it's up to you to step out in faith and do some disciple making in the workplace.